What's up, guys? We are back, and it is the conclusion of the 300th YCS weekend. And with this weekend, we didn't get just one, not just two, but three YCSs. Also, the Genesis Championship, whatever, but we're not going to talk about that because nobody gives a shit about that. But it was an exciting weekend to watch. It was also Valentine's Day weekend, so I was primarily doing that. Jules, or Julian, is also in Discord with me right now. Say hi, Jules.
Hi, Jules.
He watched a lot of content from it. He saw most of the matches, so he'll be primarily speaking on what he saw, and I'm just kind of like doing the highlights. I did see the ending. I did see the championship between Kamal and Mario, which was definitely exciting because it's two decks. Well, we kind of figured Vanquish Soul K9 was coming back, given the ban list, but Yummy, Radiant Typhoon, and Tri-Brigade. The Yummy, Tri-Brigade, yeah, just getting more starters and stuff, but it's not like Yummy lost any main deck starters. They just lost Snatchy to 1. So people got more creative. So it was definitely an interesting overall weekend, but also I hope you guys had a good Valentine's Day. So without further ado, where do you want to start, Jules? Do you want to start with Richmond, Dortmund, Guadalajara?
I was up when Dortmund began, and I could stay from 2 a.m. Saturday, early Saturday morning. I could say for a fact, Shifter.
Really?
Shifter.
Well,
It's how it started. It's how it started the entire weekend with Shifter.
we did see, so I guess we're really quick. I want to talk about like the overall weekend. Malice is not dead.
No, just 100%.
Malice is not dead. Granted, their extra deck did change quite a bit, but Whitebinder wasn't really the big hit. Red Ransom would be the big hit, and we clearly saw that. I think in my previous video or the one before that, when I talked about the ban list, saying Whitebinder being banned is like, oh man, like that really hurts Malice. The deck is dead because like that's a lot of their interaction, 06, and being able to 07 and all this stuff. But looks like Malice is still very much in it. We see it in Dortmund, Richmond, Guadalajara. It was still represented. I mean, it was in top 4 cut for sure, but. What do you have to say about Dortmund, first of all?
Dortmund was a very tame YCS. Apart from Richmond, which did get a little nutty, Dortmund was very tame. It is what you expected. On the topic of Malice, yes, Malice is very much real, but at the same time, they don't have the crackback or the amount of interactions they have with the opponent on the opponent's turn after they set up a board. The absence of Whitebinder against an opponent trying to break your board is very noticeable because you have a limited amount of interaction. You have your on field, your in hand, and your sets. Normally, back when Whitebinder was still around, you'd have the graveyard manipulation, you would have drawing, you draw into more interactions. That wasn't seen in any since the Whitebinder's banned, so Malice boards, yes, still look scary, but they're not as unbeatable as they once were because they don't have the replenishing with Whitebinder drawing and complete control over the graveyard. So that's one of the things I noticed is that Malice had a hard time keeping their board intact when the opponent was trying to break it because they now have a finite amount of interruptions.
Yeah. I mean, definitely I think Malice, looking at just this list from Alfredo, who got top 64 at Dortmund. Shifter, they can still play Shifter. Shifter doesn't hurt them at all. It hurts the opponent more. They still have access to Impulse, which is still crazy strong. I mean, this list isn't playing it, but 07 is still a card. It's still a non-target banish. Crypto is still a non-target banish. And I think also, too, what really helps the end board is the fact that they have an Omni Negate in the form of Allied Kotalker Administer, because we can see that Evenly becoming a card. It wasn't used as much, and I think a little behind. It's going to take a little while for people to realize that Evenly is going to be the GOAT card for the format. But I mean, they have the Omni Negate to protect them from that, but they also have like Access Code Talker, Crypto, like I said, just being a non-target banish, but also Dimensional Fissure, because the most popular deck, not the best deck, right? All you branded motherfuckers out there, Dimension Fissure fucking hurts. And if you're a deck that can play it or see it or don't care about it, you kind of just, it's just like one of those things where Malice puts up, I feel like, a decent board. It's not shitty, but then they just slap the Fissure down and pass to you, and it's like, well, fuck. And then combine that with like an O7 or an Impulse, it's like shit.
There were a couple times where I did see Malice go full board and at the very end slap the Fissure, which you could see the freaking body language of the opponent just go from bad to worse.
Yeah, I mean, any deck in the format now. I mean, Radiant Typhoon, maybe can get away with it, because it's just monsters. But it still fucking hurts because they have the one new quick play that sends a monster to the graveyard, so they'll send the monster or they'll send the Phonics or whatever they need, and then just summon it back later. But yeah, Fissure fucking hurts because Fissure stays there. But at the same time too, and I think you can agree with me on this, Jules, the most popular card this fucking weekend was the Fallen and the Virtuous.
Boy, that card was everywhere.
I don't care if you were playing Blue Eyes or Radiant or Branded or Malice or whatever the fuck. Pretty much every deck now is playing this free quick play target pop. Because
if you have the space in your extra deck, you play it. If you don't,
and all you
have
need
the
is
space
two.
to play
All you need is two.
You make room.
Yeah, you get the one Synchro and the one Albion, and it'll just recycle itself. So you can run 2 copies, you can run 3 copies of the Fallen and the Virtuous, but it's I personally feel yeah, it is. It really is, but I feel like it's a double-edged sword, how I feel about it. Like, I'm glad more decks now have that back row hate, or even just front row hate, because, like we were discussing before this, ending on a Caesar really doesn't fucking matter anymore, because unless you have a way to Omni-Negate protect that Caesar, or some sort of destruction protection or whatever, that Caesar's not going to fucking stay there. And Caesar is a really good card this format, but things like Fissure, if you see the Fallen and Virtuous, hey, doesn't fuck, actually.
How about now?
Yeah, actually, I don't think you could resolve the Fallen and the Virtuous because Fissure would banish it. Or I guess it might just banish it instead, so you wouldn't recycle, but you could still pop the Fissure. So things like Anti-Spell, continuous spells and traps in the back row that are like deck lockdown, you really can't see them a whole lot. Light and Darkness Chaos Angel, like we were talking with White Forest. It's not as valuable anymore because you can just go Fallen and Virtuous, target pop.
Yeah.
What are they going to do with it? It's like, hey, that's a spell card, so it's definitely shaping up to be an interesting format. Going back to like this overall, so we see Richmond. It's pretty diverse, I would say. A lot of decks in the top cut where like it was just all over the place. Dortmund, like Jules was saying, just kind of mostly Draco Tail. A lot of people, I guess, were just following the Draco Tail hype. Nothing wrong with that. If that's your personal deck, by all means, go for it. But, what were you saying about the Dortmund YCS?
It was the most tame. Like, it's a cookie cutter one. Like, the decks that popped were expected to be there.
Yeah, I guess everyone is playing like the same list. One thing I did see this weekend, I didn't see it activated, but just kind of watching the matches that I did, Nib. I think Nib is going to be a good card this format.
Nib did pop off day 2 in Dortmund. There was a lot of Nib in there.
Because we see like this list with Draco Tail now, because it's Draco Tail branded. What else is it? Draco Tail branded with the, not the Attic Nisters. What am I thinking of? The Magistus cards. So you can clear their board. Not that it's gonna like be a huge detriment to them, But the decks like Malice, Radiant Typhoon, just being able to like clear the board to give them a token, as long as you can clear that token in some way, shape, or form. I feel like Nib is going to be a really good card this format. I'm not saying it's the card this format. It's still like, going to have to analyze all the decks, all the tech choices everyone gathered, watch replays over the YCS of like key matches and features and, this deck versus that deck. But I think definitely Ash Blossom, hit the Fusion, hit the Rahu, hit the Radiant deck when they get the draw 2. I mean, definitely don't want that draw 2 because they could draw anything. Ash, definitely a good one. People still playing the draw at 2. I don't think it hurts a lot of decks in the format, but people are still playing the draw. So I know I said kind of in my ban list video, we're going to see a lot less draw. Statistically, yes, because it being at 2, even in a 40 card pile, you're like, I think 18% or 24% less likely to see it now, which is huge. Not a lot of decks just straight up lose to Draw and Lockbird now. That's why I think Nib and Ash, and of course, the Chummies are always there. But I think also too a big contributor to Malice being more popular is the fact that less people are playing Lancia now, which was kind of interesting because Lunalight was still kind of around and is still kind of around. I mean, it's here top 32. I think it got top 16 somewhere. Yeah, top 16 in Richmond. So, I mean, the deck is still alive, but it seemed like Dortmund, like Jules said, was just kind of like a cookie cutter, boring, everyone playing the Draco Tail. Of course, Radiant Typhoon was going to be in there, Malice is in there, and then Vanquish Soul Canine taking it. So, yeah, make sure you guys find or buy your cheap Perulias because there's a lot of summoning from the hand nowadays, whether it be the Yummy variants or Radiant Typhoon, Vanquish Soul Canine, just thoughts on that. So I guess let's go over to Richmond and talk about Richmond because Guadalajara, I'm gonna be honest, I don't think a whole lot of interesting stuff went on. I think it's kind of like what Dortmund was, just, your Draco Tail, your Branded, your Yummy, your Radiance.
It was kind of hard to keep track of Guadalajara because there was no footage.
Yeah,
the
that
only real
too.
thing you kind of have to go is if you're curious enough, go find Konami's blog. But mainly what everybody was paying attention to that one for was the Triff. Triff, that's the YCS Triff went to.
Mm-hmm. Where did he place?
He did not top.
Yeah, I don't see him on the top 32.
He got his third loss, I believe, round 14.
Triff, you're washed. No, I'm just kidding. No, seriously though. But speaking of washed, Pac and Sam dueled each other at Richmond, playing two very interesting decks.
Probably the same build.
Yeah, it was the exact same build. I will hold my comments on them and their team. Just know it's the same way I feel about Jesse Cotton. But what was funny, I don't know if you caught it, Jules, but because they knew each other's decks, when Pac was going second this YCS, he would side out the Draco traps. Mm-hmm. And Sam knew that, so he sided in because Pac took game 1 because I think he won the die roll and then set up a good board. And then Sam made Pac go first, knowing he sided out the traps, and couldn't really set up much of a board. And Sam took an easy, quick win. But then Pac ended up winning. It wasn't really much like a back and forth situation. It was definitely interesting, the decks they were playing, because they were playing the Draco Tail, Branded, Magistus, whatever pile. But yeah, they were on the feature match. So if you guys want to see that, check it out. It was definitely an interesting build. I'm sure Pac and Sam are going to make their video on it. But yeah, Richmond, a diverse format. We saw Memento Radiant make it to top. The Memento was not expected at all. Lunalight making it up there. We got White Forest, top 32 with Elf Note. White Forest making it back, baby. Good amount of Lunalight. The Fur Hire with K9. I want to see that build, because why? But as far as like, I mean, most of these don't have deck lists yet. I think we can definitely see it's a diverse format. It's diverse. There's a lot of things that people are playing. Chummies are still running around like crazy, and I think Perulia, this format, is definitely going to get more value given the decks that are becoming more popular now. Especially how popular Radiant is becoming. I didn't think Radiant would be like this popular. Like, I mean, there were so many people playing it, whether it was just like a side engine, like a small, like not even playing Crusea, or it was like the main engine. Like it's a pretty good format, I think. What do you think, Jules? What do you think of Richmond?
Richmond was a fever dream. I'm just gonna say that.
Why do you say that?
Richmond, Richmond, that is the most double losses I've seen in a YCS.
That is true. We saw what? One on stream that I
There
know
was
of.
one day one. I wasn't really patient day two, but was seeing there might have been a second double loss on day two. In the
Guys, just
Genesis,
be.
there was a straight there in Genesis there was a straight up game loss because of slow playing.
That's crazy. Look,
But
all you got to do is just
Richmond,
communicate.
Richmond, the America is weird. Still, the same thing applies. The only big surprise in our top eight is Memento, which was also playing a Radiant Typhoon package. So, a more on the fringes of the meta deck, getting help from a pretty good. It's a good engine. Not gonna deny that it's a good engine. But Luna Light taking the place of Fire King because in the EU it's Fire King. Over here in America it's Luna Light apparently.
Yeah.
But other than that, the topping lists are what you expect: your Dracotels, your VSK9, your Yummies, and Malice, which they're showing the resiliency. Malice is still that deck.
Yeah, Malice is still that deck. And, again, going back to like Richmond and how diverse it is, you've got Killtoon, you've got White Forest, you got Elf Note Fiendsmith, Furhire, K9, Lunalight, Memento. It's a pretty good format. I mean, this is definitely like what you got to plan your builds around and your decks around. And I'll do a separate video based on like tech choices people have made, some highlights that once more the lists come out, and then my opinion on what I think the best ones will be and are, given this format of this is probably what we'll be seeing going forward until the next ban list. But with the new Maze set coming out, we are getting that new Dark Magician support, the like one card combo to Dragoon. So more people will have access to Dragoon. There's a few more decks that can play Dragoon now. I'm not gonna say all of them, you know what I mean? But this is probably what we're gonna be looking like for a good while because we get Rarity after this, right?
We got Maze coming up, then Rarity. No, we got Maze, then we got Legendary decks, then Rarity.
Yeah, legendary deck. So we get the Sky Striker. So we might see a bump in Sky Striker just because it'll be easier to get, cheaper to get probably. The Mitsurugi, maybe a Surgeons of Mitsurugi, but that's something I wanted to touch on, which I don't think we touched on yet, but where is Mitsurugi? Did everyone just drop it because Habikiri went to 1? I don't think so. I think a lot of people got sick of it. I think people really wanted to explore other engines. They wanted to make Yummy work. They wanted to make Malice work. They wanted to have the new flavor of Radiant Typhoon, which, by the way, if you had Croseas back when they were like $8, stonks, baby, because now that's like a $50 fucking card. I don't think so. I think it's like still a $40 card, but still. There was one pure Mitsurugi that made top 64 at Richmond, and I think at Dortmund, there was also a pure, yeah.
Yep.
Top 32, there was a pure Mitsurugi deck. So it's not like it's gone.
So out of two YCSs, we don't really know anything about Guadalajara. The deck lists aren't really out yet. But out of Richmond and Dortmund, out of top 64, not even top 8, like how Konami wants you to view their events as top 8, in two top 64s of two YCSs of about 2,000 players each. Two.
Yeah.
Two Mitsurugis.
Yeah, Mitsurugi is. I'm glad for it because I don't know about you, Jules, but I was kind of sick of the whole Mitsurugi thing. I think Yummy definitely like wore down that train very much of just, oh, Yummy. Oh, it's probably gonna go Mitsurugi, and they're searching Mitsurugi. Oh, okay, cool. Which they can't do anymore
In
thanks to
my
Harold.
in my eyes, I think this is how good Mitsurugi's always been. Because if you think about it, pure Mitsurugi really never saw the light of day because it was always Yummy Mitsurugi. Yummy was the best way to play Mitsurugi. You take Harold out the picture and you put Habakiri to one. So you got rid of Yummy's bridge. You also got rid of everybody else's generic three of let's go to Mitsurugi bridge. That kills off everybody trying to put Mitsurugi in their decks. And now you're stuck playing pure Mitsurugi, which is more of a control based beatdown deck. So it makes sense. They get a little bone thrown at them that rolls at two now, but I wouldn't sleep on Mitsurugi because I feel that Mitsurugi's still good.
Yeah, I
You
was
just
gonna
have
say
to
Prayers is
play.
still at 3, guys. Like
Yes,
Sanji's still
Prayers.
at 3. The
I just
Ritual's
think
still
that
at 3. You got Prep at 3. You got what is it? The other Prep at 3. Like there's a bunch of ways you can fucking get Mitsurugi going.
Mitsurugi right now, I think it needs time for people to know it's still early, super new into the format. I think Mitsurugi will find its place again. It's just that right now, there's a lot of discovery going on in the format right now. There's no you got to find ways to beat Dracotel, and
Yeah,
I think Mitsurugi can still do it. It's just gonna take some time.
people gotta cook
Fiendsmith
with it.
Mitsurugi, Fiendsmith Mitsurugi does not seem like a bad option to me. Not gonna lie.
No, I mean you do lose the impulse, which I would argue is pretty powerful because you want to hit that Bright Infusion. You want to hit that was it Ketu, Ratu, Rahu, whatever the fuck. There's like key points you want to hit, but yeah, I think the big takeaway from this weekend, Dracotel is a very popular deck. Again, it's who pilots the deck, right? Because it's not like there is now a clear best deck like Snake Eye format. There's a lot of decks out there now, and there's a lot of good decks out there now, and it's just coming down to the pilot. And like I always preach, it's knowing your deck is one thing. Knowing your opponent's deck is what's going to get you those wins. Knowing what they're going to do next. Knowing, okay, well, they already searched to this, or because I popped the field spell, they can't do this. So if I cut them off here, then there's really nothing they can do. Or I should wait for him to get his search because once he does his search, then I can really cut him off. Or, it's just knowing what your opponent has. So you can take a look at, these popular decks right here and just say to yourself, okay, if I don't know any of these decks or what they do, watch a YouTube video on it, watch the combo tutorial on it, and just see where, those available choke points for the deck that you're playing where you can hit them. Because any deck can be good, right? There was like all kinds of crazy decks in the beginning of day one that people were trying out. And I applaud that. Given that we have the Fallen and the Virtuous now, like we were saying, it's just a generic card that anybody can use, and I'm glad people can use it. We got the Chummies, Drolls at 2, so it gives more of those decks to shine that really were just like, oh man, I lose to Droll because I'm playing, Metal Morph, and it's like, oh, my one search, well, I'm fucked. But yeah, I mean, that's really all I got. Like I said, I'll do a separate video and talk about the tech choices that were made, deck lists, all that stuff. This was more just hey guys, the YCS is concluded. This was the weekend. This is what we saw. Like, what do you guys think? What did you want to see? What what are you seeing at your locals? What are you guys seeing at home? Because this is the top players. This is the top of the top. And are you guys seeing what this is? Or are you guys seeing something completely different? Are people giving other decks a chance? Are you seeing more Radiant Typhoon becoming more popular now? Because that seems to be the way it's going. It's going to be as popular as Dracotel branded. But you'll always have the Dracotel branded, especially the branded like fanboys for it all. But yeah, Jules, any closing thoughts on the weekend?
I have to watch another Dracotel mirror. I'm gonna lose it.
Yeah, it is a boring mirror match because they just do the fusion thing. You know, you're going to get the Arthalion, you're going to do the, you know, whatever. You're going to set your spells or you're going to set your traps. You know, your fusion materials are going to do the same things over and over and over again.
But other than just my disdain for Dragatel mirrors or Dragatel matches in general, I think it's a good starting point for the format. You know, it's going to be the same format we're going to have all the way up to May before Blazing Dominion. So, sure, our striker will get its import soon. I just think decks over time are going to adapt. New strategies are going to come out and challenge the meta. And I think so far the format's fine. The format's fun.
Yeah, it's a lot healthier than what we've seen it.
Yes, it's way more healthier than what it's been recently.
I mean, granted,
but just know that if you want to be great, you know what you got to face at the top, and it's gonna be the mix of Dragatel, Branded Dragatel, Radiant, and VSK with a splash of Malice.
Yeah, Splash of Malice and Lunalight. So keep y'all's Lancias, you know, on your side because you might need those to go into some of these bigger events. But yeah, guys, that's it. Let me know what y'all think about the weekend, and if you guys have any questions or comments or concerns, leave them down below. And we will see you guys in the next one. Peace.